I think one of my favorite aisles to go down in the grocery store is the cereal aisle. There's just so much to pick from. There's all these different kinds of cereals with, there's the sweet and sugary ones and the ones with grain that make you feel good about yourself. And, there's just so much choice. I love the cereal aisle. And the computer aisle in these kinds of stores like Best Buy, I feel the same. I love going down the computers aisles and just seeing all the new amazing technologies that are out there. So a long time ago, I used to work at a store called Future Shop, and Future Shop was very much like Best Buy. In fact, Best Buy bought out Future Shop, and so all the Future Shops back in probably, I don't know, 2005, 2006, all the Future Shops became Best Buys, and so you're not going to see Future Shop around anymore. But I used to work in a place that was very much like Best Buy. People would come in, they'd want to buy a computer. My job was to help them find the one that was good for them. And what I learned in that time is that there are many, many different types of computer, but there are also many, many different types of computer user. Some people are going to need to spend quite a bit of money on a computer in order to get what they want. And others are not going to need to spend much at all. And it depends on what they're looking for in a computer. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the Best Buy site virtually. And we're going to take a look at all the different types of computers and who they might be for. And then you're going to do an activity where you are going to get to go and shop online and buy some computers. So, without any further ado, here's the Best Buy site, and it's pretty massive. If you hover over the shop button, you'll see that there's all these different categories, and every category breaks down into another category. So we're just in here. We're just in computers, tablets, and accessories. And so here's computers and tablets to start with, and you can see that as I scroll down, it goes into even more laptops and MacBooks, or tablets and iPads, or desktops and iMacs, and look down here. There's PC gaming, and there's more MacBooks, and there's lots and lots and lots of categories. So we're going to try to hit on as many as we can without getting overwhelmed. Okay, so let's start by taking a look here at desktop computers. So desktop computers are the traditional computer. They're what started everything. These big kind of silicon and metal hunks that sit on your desk, and you attach things to them with cords. And so you can see down here, here's a whole bunch of different desktop categories. You have Windows computers, gaming computers, everyday computers, all-in-one computers, and then here you see Apple computers as well. And so a desktop computer is one that you're not going to get for portability. It's always going to sit at home. That's the only place it's going to be, or wherever, your office, but you're not going to be taking it from place to place. At least that's not the point. So the everyday computers, these are the ones that typically you're going to sell to somebody who is just coming in. They want a computer so that they can do email. Maybe they want to do a little bit of video conferencing with people online. Maybe they want to go online and play some not too processor intensive games. And so these are the ones that are fairly inexpensive. In fact, here you can see there's some refurbished ones, and refurbished just means that they've either been sent back to the factory with some imperfection. They fixed it, and now they're trying to sell it again. In some cases, it means it's pre-owned. But you can see here, everyday computing is it's another way to say your standard computer, right? And so your standard computer, there's still going to be quite a range. $599, $899. Here's one for $193. But again, this is, a pretty old one, and you're not going to get too many years out of something like this. But for somebody who's not looking to do a lot with their computer, this might be a great deal. But let's just click on this one here. And so this is kind of your middle of the line, you could argue low-end computer for someone who's not looking to do the greatest things in the world. Now, in this case, the brand is Acer. Acer is a pretty big computer manufacturer, and there are lots and lots and lots of these. The same way there are lots and lots of different car makers. So Acer, Dell, Gateway, Lenovo, IBM. There's lots of different companies that make computers. And then this would be the model, the Aspire TC desktop. And then here what you see is the specifications or specs. So this is the processor, the Core i5, that's the CPU. This right here, 1 terabyte HDD, that's your hard drive. So that's the size of the storage inside, the long-term storage. Here's the RAM, and that's the short-term storage. That's the bedside table. And then here we have the operating system. So it comes with Windows 10. And then if you scroll down a little further, you're going to see down here, details and specs, more information. Usually it's kind of, well, I mean, it's always going to be something that's going to say the good things about the computer, right? Good power, easily handle your day-to-day. Nowhere is it going to say this computer can't do this or can't do that. So you do have to be careful and read between the lines and do some research. But this computer generally, 2.9 gigahertz, that's the CPU speed. That's how fast it's going to process information. That's the amount of RAM right there. That's the hard drive. And then here it talks about the networking. It can join a Wi-Fi network. It's got a port for a network cable. And then it talks about what you can hook up to it. There's your audio jack, so you can plug in a microphone, you can plug in speakers, USB ports, HDMI port, and all that other information there. It includes a keyboard and a mouse. Woohoo! So shopping for a computer is complicated because there's a lot of different things, right? And then you've got the pictures where they try to make it look nice. But generally, you know, this kind of computer, an everyday computer, is not too good, not too bad. So if I had, you know, let's say I had a couple that comes in and they're retired and they just want a computer to stay in touch with their family. They don't want a computer that they're going to have to move around. This might be right up their alley, something that's always going to stay plugged in and just be dependable for them. Now, as I go back, sorry, it's slower. Trying to get back to, there we go. So that was the everyday computers. And now if we click on the Windows computers and everyday computers could be grouped into one because most of the everyday computers are going to have Windows on it. But now you start to see the prices go up a little bit. And you can see here, their categories aren't exclusive. So we have a gaming PC here, even though we saw a gaming category later. So we're going to see a little bit of overlap. But you can see that here's a computer that's over $1,000. And here's another one that's almost around $2,000. So you have, you know, multiple computers, and you got to look really hard to see, well, what's the difference? Here you can see there's 8 gigs of RAM in this one. Over here, which is a little bit more expensive, it has 16 gigs of RAM. So you're like, well, what's the difference there? Why is it? And you have to be really careful to look and try to find the difference. This one says new to sale. You're saving all this money. Are you? There must be some, oh, and there it is, refurbished. So you have to be really careful and check what the refurbished means. And here's another gaming machine with 1 terabyte of solid state, which is that's the hard drive. So 1 terabyte solid state drive, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and then the GeForce is talking about the video card, so it's got its own dedicated video. So this here is a pretty amazing gaming computer. But the everyday Windows computers, I'm going to try to find, there we go. Well, it's a gaming PC. So this would be a bit of a step up. If you had somebody who wanted to do a little bit more with their computer, maybe didn't want to wait so long for things to open, you know, compared to the first computer we looked at for $599, this one for $899, it might have a little bit more power to it. It might have a little bit of a better processor, a little bit more RAM. Well, this one has a little less RAM actually. But you would take a look at all of the specs and see, well, what is it that separates one from the other, right? So here's some more information about the computer, and you can see exactly what you get with it. Windows 10, DVD writable optical drive. And basically as a user, you would have to say, well, do I need this? Do I need that? What exactly is important to me in a computer? Okay, so let's go back a little bit more, and then we'll talk about the one that usually students in my class want to talk about the most, and that's the gaming machines. And a gaming machine is typically tripped out, looking very slick, but quite expensive. So a gaming computer, Here we go. You can see most of them are over 1,000. Um, Here we go, and they're the neon lights, and they look very, very cool. What you're going to find with a gaming computer is usually you're going to see, and we'll just click on. Let's find one over 2,000. There's got to be one here somewhere. Yep, there we go. Ooh, look at that. So that's a funky looking computer. This is Alienware. It's made by Dell. And if I scroll down, and I haven't looked yet, but I'm guessing the graphics card is going to be talked about. And yeah, sure enough, there's the graphics card. And with a gaming computer, they're going to want a high-end graphics card. So if someone walks into my store and they're looking for a computer, the first thing you have to do is you have to say, well, what is it you're interested in doing? If you have someone who's interested in gaming, then they're going to be looking to buy a gaming computer, and they're going to have to spend a little bit more money to get more power in the computer. This is a very good processor. It's got a very good gaming or graphics card. It's got lots and lots and lots of RAM. So this will, make the games run without any problems whatsoever, but you certainly pay for it. Now, of course, you're going to find computers that are less money, and so you could get a gaming computer for significantly less, but you have to kind of weigh the importance of what's important to the user. So after we get out of the desktop kind of arena, and we can go on, and I don't want to make a drone on too long about these machines, but we touched on kind of the low end, and when I say low end, that's kind of the everyday computers, the cheaper Windows machines. And then here's kind of the mid-range Windows machines. And then here's the gaming computers where you can really go crazy and get a super high-end computer, very powerful, so you can play all those games. There's a few more, like the Macs, and here's an all-in-one computers. All-in-one computers were kind of catching on for a while, and now they're not quite as popular. These are the ones where you could either use the keyboard and mouse, but you could also touch the screen. And I'm not going to spend too much time on those, but some people do like them. So that's the desktop market. And then I move over, I'm going to skip ahead here. I'm going to move over to laptops and MacBooks. So laptops, there's even more categories. There are Windows laptops, MacBooks, Chromebooks, gaming laptops, 2-in-1, Surface laptops. It's almost so much that you don't know what to do. So quickly, Windows laptops can range anywhere from as low as $250 all the way up to $3,000, maybe more. And again, it's going to depend on what that user wants. With laptops, you're looking at processing power, you're looking at RAM, you're looking at hard drive, all those main things. But you're also looking at battery life, and you're looking at the weight, and you're looking at the screen size and the brightness and that kind of thing. And so Windows laptops, as I click here, you'll see quite a range of how low they get and how high they get. So right away, $599 going all the way up to $1299. And if I scroll down here, there's more range. $349 there, $249 there. Well, there we go. We're getting low. But then almost $2,000 there for a Dell 13.4 i7, blah, blah, blah. So, these are all the specs that make it super fast. So there is a bit of a you get what you pay for when it comes to these computers, but you can see Windows machines go from $2,000 all the way down to $250. This one would not be nearly as powerful. Whereas, if I go back and I check on the MacBooks, so MacBooks are known for being a little bit more, well, a lot more expensive, but less of a range. You're not going to find a MacBook, at least not a refurbished one, for, there we go. See, they're all over 1,000. And if you look down here, pretty much all over 1,000 except the odd one that's been refurbished, reused. That's a model from 2015. Sometimes, and it depends on the Windows machine, but I like to make the comparison of if I buy a Honda car, usually a Honda is going to have a much better resale value and it'll last me a lot longer. And some people like to say that Macs are kind of like that. If I buy a Mac computer, yes, I'm going to pay more up front, but generally they tend to last longer, and they also sell, like if you sell a used Mac, you're going to get more for it than if you were to sell a used laptop, a Windows laptop. it is hard to compare specs when you're talking Windows to Mac. What I mean by that is like the speed you see here on the processor, 1.4 gigahertz, and you go back and you look at the, well, I won't go back because it'll take too much time, but if you go back and look at the laptop, the Windows laptops, you'll see that they might be a bigger number than that. When you're comparing Macs to PCs, you can't really compare those numbers because the architecture of the computer, the way they work inside, is fundamentally different. So you can compare Macs to Macs, you can compare Windows to Windows, but it's pretty hard to compare, at least without doing an in-depth comparison. It's very hard to compare Windows machines to Mac machines. In general, Macs are known for battery life. They're known for working very quickly, and there's been a bit of a reputation that people who are into art, creativity, are Mac users. Macs are used in graphic design, video editing, and those kinds of things. There are programs I know in Seneca College in graphic design where they insist upon people using a Mac. You have to have a Mac, and their labs are fully Mac. Now, as time moves on and Windows tries to get more of the market share, this changes a little bit, and Windows aren't terrible at that stuff, but Mac has always been known for that kind of thing. And MacBooks are also generally known for having what's called a Retina display, where their screens are a little bit, well, yeah, I'll use the word superior to the Windows competitors. So we have the Windows laptops, we have the MacBooks, and we have Chromebooks. And Chromebooks are one that I've had to add in as I've taught over the years. Chromebooks are getting more and more popular because mainly the price tag. The price tag on Chromebooks, you can see it's hard to find a Chromebook that's going to be over 500. There's one there. That would be a fairly high-end Chromebook. The other ones are all less. And that is because a Chromebook does not have, if you look closely at the specifications, doesn't really have the same kind of a hard drive. So I look here and I can see 64 gig SSD. And that is a hard drive that's very, very small. And that's because Chromebooks don't typically have files installed on the machine. They are used, well, I'm saying the word only, but they're used most effectively when they are connected to the internet, because they connect to things like your Google Drive and your Google suite of tools like Docs and Sheets. So if you lose your connection to the internet, Chromebooks are not nearly as useful as full-out laptops. So Chromebooks are fantastic for students who are going to be, only using word processor and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, don't want to play serious games. Where I've had Chromebook users not be too happy is when they need to use programs that need to be installed. As an example, I teach using a program called Greenfoot, and Greenfoot is a program that needs to be installed on the computer, and it can be installed on a Windows machine, it can be installed on a Mac, but you can't actually install it on a Chromebook. So Chromebooks can be limiting in that some programs will not work on a Chromebook. I find as time goes by that's less and less, but it's still true that you can spend $400 on a Chromebook. Some people would argue you might be better off spending $500 on a laptop that will do all the things a Chromebook can, plus more. Now again, that's debatable. A lot of this is opinion. Chromebooks also have things like they flip and you can use them as tablets, which is pretty cool. But again, it's totally up to the user and what they need. So that's Chromebooks. And as we go back, again, just due to the time, I'm not going to go through all of them. I gotta go back one more. Gaming laptops are very similar to what we did with the desktops. We talked about how there were Windows desktops, and then there were kind of really expensive, tripped out Windows machines with great graphics cards. Well, this is the laptop equivalent. So if you had somebody came in, maybe there was a student who needed portability but also loved to play games at a high level, they might be looking for a gaming laptop, something powerful and portable. Two-in-one laptops are kind of like the Chromebook idea where you can use it as a laptop, but you can also flip it, use it as a tablet. And then the Microsoft Surface laptops are very similar, where you have a touchscreen. and you can use a pen to jot notes on it, and these are also becoming more popular, a lot like the iPad Pros, if you've ever seen those. Okay, and that leads me into the tablets, and we're going to go a little faster because we've talked about these a bit. But tablets are, I'm sure everyone's seen an iPad or an Android tablet, but just like what you think they are, it's basically a screen that's responsive to your touch. But these are getting better and better, and now you can buy the iPad Pro or iPad Pros. Interesting, I'm not seeing them here. But if I, oh, maybe I have to click on iPads. Let's check in iPads. There it is. So there's iPad. An iPad is one where you can use your finger for touch. iPads are great for using apps online, and they're really, really good for elementary school when students want to do learning on an iPad and just touch this, touch that. Not so much for high school. They're great for graphing and stuff like that, but you wouldn't be able to use an iPad to get through everything in high school, I wouldn't think, at least not easily. But an iPad Pro is a little different. An iPad Pro, more expensive than a typical iPad, but an iPad Pro, you can get a pen, you can get a keyboard for it, and basically turn it into kind of a combo laptop. But you can also draw on it, you can take notes in class. The resolution is quite impressive. And so it's almost like an iPad on steroids, and you can get accessories that turn it into sort of like a MacBook. So it's almost like a best of both worlds thing. I can't say I've ever owned one, but the people I've spoken to who have one swear by them and say they're fantastic. So for these ones, if you had either a student or someone in business who wanted something extremely light, really, really solid on battery, and something that would do almost everything they need to do, take pictures, whatever it may be, then an iPad Pro would certainly be something to consider as long as they have the money for it. And then here we can see there's different, oh, did I go back too far? There we go. So there's iPad, there's iPad Pro, there's even iPad Air, which is a little more battery life. There's the Android tablets, which are Google's answer to Apple's iPad, very similar. And then Microsoft Surface and Windows tablets. There's almost so much, it's hard to get through everything. You may feel exhausted already. I know I'm getting tired talking about all these things. But that is all just under the computers category. Now, when you're making these decisions, you're talking about hundreds of dollars, and so to do your research well, you often would want to go to a site like this called CPU Boss. And CPU Boss is very interesting. It will compare two CPUs head to head. So let's say I went to Best Buy and I decided that I wanted to, it was going to be between computer A and computer B. Then what I could do is I can go and I could find out, what's the processor in this one. Here's the AMD Ryzen 7, and you'd have to type it right in there, but I don't know if it will complete it or not. AMD, yeah, see, look at that, Ryzen. And so in this site, it's got all of the different processors preloaded, so I can compare the AMD Ryzen to, I don't know, let's just pick one like this. Because comparing two processors is very hard to do. So that's why there are sites like this, like GPU Boss, and this will compare to graphics card, and this will compare to solid state drives. And if I hit compare, you'll see this site go to work, and there's a little war going on between these two processors, and I can find out which one is going to win the battle. There's lots of information here. The clock speed tells me which one's faster, and so on and so forth. And again, I don't want to get too carried away with everything, but the point I'm making is when you're shopping for a computer, a lot of people will go, oh, I'm interested in this computer, and then they kind of get overwhelmed by all the information. So what you do is you go down, you look at the important things. You want to look at the speed of the processor, but more than anything, you want to take the name of the processor and do a little bit of research. Go get that and put it into this site. See what it finds. Hopefully it finds something and you can learn a little bit about what's going on with that machine. So wrapping all of that up is going to be tough, but basically when you're shopping for a computer, it's not as easy as it used to be. It used to be desktop or laptop, but now it breaks down into laptops, desktops, tablets, Chromebooks, gaming computers, and more. So your job and the next little assignment is to kind of think about all the things we talked about, and you're going to be given a few different scenarios. So you're going to be the sales associate for Best Buy or whatever store you're working at, and your job is going to be to match somebody who walks in and says, I'm a student, or I'm a gamer, or I'm a business professional, and you're going to try to find them the computer that would work for them. One more thing that I forgot to mention in all this, all of those things that you saw, computers, well, not so much for tablets and laptops, but with the desktop computers, that does not include a monitor. And that's something that when I worked at Future Shop, a lot of people were very upset with when they found out that the price of their desktop that they were going to buy did not include a monitor. So, just taking one last look at desktop computers, if I go, let's go to the on sale one here. If I go look at the computers on sale and think, oh my goodness, that's a great price, I'm going to buy this computer here. And then I look at it and then I go to order it and it comes and I'm like, where's the monitor? It doesn't come with one. So if you are going to recommend a desktop computer to somebody, then you would also have to go back to shop and go to computers, and right there you're going to look at the monitors. And for the monitors, don't worry, I'm not going to go through them all just like I just did. For the monitors, basically you're looking at size. Size is number one. The bigger the monitor, the more stuff you can fit on the screen. But there are now curved monitors for gamers. There are specific gaming monitors. There's monitors with speakers in them. And so you have to go and find yourself a monitor that's going to be right for you. Okay? So I hope you have a little bit of fun with this, because you get to go online and go shopping and you're going to pick computers for people, and hopefully that little video helped you a little bit. Have fun!